I have some friends who are just tremendous cooks. I mean, we swap recipes, and I've gone to restaurants before and eaten some delicious food, and I mean, these gourmet meals, and I'll ask for the recipe. And it's interesting because I had a relative one time that when we would ask for a recipe, or like my mom would ask for it, they would gladly give it, but they would omit something. It was like a missing ingredient, because they didn't want you or whoever was going to be cooking it to get the same rave reviews that they did. I mean, isn't that kind of vicious? But that happens, you know? I mean, some people take real pride in those recipes. And then you would take the recipe and make it yourself, and it just doesn't come out the same. There's something missing, and you're not quite sure what it is. Well, I have made the signature family pie for years and years and years and years and years. It's called Run for the Roses. Now, it's really hysterical because one of the first times that my husband Ed came over to our house, I was 15 years old, and my mother had once again prepared Run for the Roses pie. Now, it's named after a Kentucky Derby racehorse. Run for the Roses was this horse's name. And it's a chocolate chip pie with kind of a chess pie, buttermilk pie kind of topping, you know. Oh, it's oh so delicious. But, and I have tried to make it body for God, but you know, some things just don't work. It really would have missing ingredients if that were the case. But I was baking it one day. We were having guests over, and I mixed everything up and went to put the pies in the oven. And when I turned, I was feeling really good, ahead of schedule. I turned and looked at the ingredients I was about to put back into the pantry, and I saw the vanilla. And I had not put the vanilla in. And that is a huge part of that top layer. And so I thought, okay, do you think I can swirl it in the end? I mean, it's in the oven. The chocolate chips are on the bottom of the pie crust, and all the cream parts on the top. And so I'm just taking my teaspoon and dabbling it and stirring it, and it looked like a psychedelic pattern in the top of the pie. And I thought, so anyway, I ended up making 2 more pies because I wasn't sure. I thought, okay, these will be for the family. The others will be for the guests, you know. But so often, I have done that, and I have forgotten at the end of preparing a recipe and tried to stir something in at the end. So many times during the Christmas season, through the hustle and bustle of this time of year, we come together at Christmas Eve and try to stir Jesus in at the end. And he truly is an ingredient of Christmas that cannot be missed. I was looking online at the word Christmas and the origin of it, and the origin of the word was first used in 1038 AD, and it stands for Christ at Mass, or a Mass of Christ, from a Catholic background. And then in 1140 AD, around that time, it was referred to in the Latin, Christos Messe. And Ed and I were talking about it, and we said, you know what? When we take Christ out of Christmas, we have a messe. It's not what it's supposed to be. Jesus is an ingredient that cannot be missed at Christmas time, but so often he is. I brought today, and I'm going to move this out of the way so you can see, I brought today some of my collection. I collect nativity scenes, and I have way more than this. I have others, that are packed up just because I couldn't display them all today, but this one was one that I got when we first had Lee Beth, our oldest daughter. Lee Beth's on the front row. She's home from college. Actually, she's home transferring to Dallas Baptist University, so she's going to be home at college. Stand up, Lee Beth. And you know what? I'm here for all you mothers of teenage girls. How many moms of teenage girls do we have? Okay. You know what? Being the mother of a teenage girl is awesome. Sometimes. It can be one of the most challenging, and one of my dear friends is sitting on the back row over there. I won't give you her name, but she's got a white sweater with black polka dots on it and rhinestones. And another one who's got on, I believe, a khaki jacket sitting next to her. But anyway, they are the mothers of daughters. And when I thought that I was going to go to prison for the things I might do to Lee Beth, because, just the tension, they gave me hope and confidence. And for sure, this young lady sitting on the front row is one of the dearest, precious Christian women that I know. And so, moms, take a deep breath, which is what I should have done many times during her teenage years, and relax because it's going to be okay. Okay, that's just a side note. It has nothing to do with the nativity scene. Has to do with peace and harmony at Christmas, though, I will tell you that. But these are just some of the ones that I have, and this one is like a paper doll set, and it comes in this cute little thing, and actually we've lost the stand for the angel and one of the shepherds, but they can be spared from the nativity set, right? But if you see all these, this one Ed's mother sent me, I think she picked it up in one of her travels. This one, I got at Costco. How many people shop at Costco? Go for the Kirkland's brand, that's it. And then this one, my mom gave me for the children to enjoy, and they're battery operated, but they've kind of lost their spizzerinctum, and so they don't move like they used to. But the essence of the nativity is Jesus. It's all about Jesus. He's the center of every nativity scene. He's the center of the Christmas story. He's the center of God's plan for our lives. I was getting the Christmas decorations out of the attic a couple years ago, and I went to set this little scene up, and all I found was the basket. And I thought, oh my goodness, how amusing. The pastor's home and Jesus can't be found, That's not good. And I even said something, I was like, guys, we can't find Jesus, and nobody else seemed to be alarmed. I was like, come on, guys. But I could not find him. I was like, what has happened to baby Jesus? And he had gotten scattered into a different box. But, when we found him, it was complete. But as we look at this time of year, it's often true that Jesus is removed from the nativity. And when you take Jesus out of the nativity, you know what you have? Just a bunch of activity. It's just a bunch of people gathered without a purpose, without a plan, with a bunch of festivities. But to what point? And this Christmas season, and every year that I can think of, God has just shown me different ways that I have removed Jesus out of the nativity and gotten involved in a lot of activity. So as we look at this scene, I want us to just kind of ask the question, what are we missing? If we take Jesus out, if Jesus is missing from the picture, what will we be missing? Think about the shepherds. The shepherds were ordinary guys, just out tending their flocks, I picture the shepherds being routine people, day in, day out, keeping track of the sheep, making sure that they were fed, taking where they needed to be to get the food. All of it sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? It sounds like carpool. Sounds like a trip to the Tom Thumb, whatever. Routine, just the same thing day in and day out. Now, can you imagine how they must have felt when they're just lounging out under the stars and a host of angels appear? I try to picture myself in that scene, and I think, what would I have done? I can't even answer that question. I'm not sure. But evidently, these normal, daily grind guys experienced something supernatural, something out of the normal for them, something so far off the pages of their normal days that they didn't even know what to do. And the angel said to them, don't be afraid. Don't fear this interruption of your daily grind. Don't fear the interruption of the routine. Don't fear what I'm about to tell you. And because they listened to the voice of the angels and stopped their daily grind, what seemed like the normal thing that they were supposed to be doing all the time, they were able to go and see the Christ and experience something supernatural. For me, at Christmas, I want to ask myself that same question. Am I going to be willing to set aside the daily grind, the routine, and what I think is the normal pace of Christmas in order to experience something supernatural? Because God has that same supernatural experience for me. It may not be that I have a cane and a robe and a sheep and out under the stars, but He has an announcement that will make my day a supernatural experience. Well, if you look at the wise men, what about the wise men? These guys, look, just their garments, they're dressed to the nines. They had the cool gifts. These guys were the upper crust of people in that day. And they pretty much set the standard. They were the movers and the shakers, the educated, the ones that people sought after and wanted to be like. That's the wise men. And these wise men, they could have been all about themselves, promoting themselves, working on themselves, looking about what they could do to improve themselves to become more and more of the upper echelon. But something happened to them. They studied and they believed what God had promised, that there was a Messiah coming, and it was going to be about a star. And if they would follow that star, they would find the baby wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger. But, I'm assuming that many people had possibly read that or heard that as it had been told and handed down through the years. But they acted upon it. And they overcame their autonomy and they overcame their own ways in order to go a different way. And so they made a journey to worship, a journey that took them out of their comfort zone, out of their area, out of their self-promotion in order to promote and worship someone bigger than they were. And if they had missed Jesus, they would have missed the most incredible worship experience of their life. Well, Mary and Joseph. I shudder as I read Luke chapter 2 and I see Mary and the fact that she was just a child pretty much. She had just come into her womanly years, and how she was betrothed to Joseph. And an angel appeared to her and said, "Mary, you are going to have a son, and he will change the world?" I cannot even fathom the burden that must have been for a young girl. Not only for her to hear it, but to comprehend it, and then the embarrassment and the shame of the fact that she couldn't explain it. It was something that you couldn't explain. And here she was betrothed to Joseph, and the rumors that must have surfaced because of her pregnancy. And yet Joseph, being the man that he was, saw God in it all and said, "Mary, we will be obedient." And their obedience led them to be used by God to change the world. This Christmas season, you and I have an opportunity as women, and we've talked about throughout Flavour from September through today, how we have an influence in this world that is like none other. Women are the decision makers. I'm telling you, statistics, go to marketing polls, you see it. We are influencers. We're decision makers. We can sway people. And this Christmas season, many of us are the sole individuals who could sway our homes, our families, and our friends for Jesus. We have an opportunity this Christmas season to flavor our homes, our families, and our friends in an everlasting way to be used by God. As Mary and Joseph were just mere mortal individuals, but yet they were obedient. And they kept the main thing, and that was doing what God had called them to do. You and I have that opportunity. Well, we've gone through this acrostic for Flavour over the past several months, and today is R. If you weren't here in the previous weeks, then you know what? You'll have to get a copy of the talks, but today is R, Flavour. And it stands for rejoice. Can everybody say rejoice with me? You cannot help but smile when you say the word rejoice. Rejoice. Oh my goodness gracious. If I in my hoarse, raspy voice can do it, you can do better than that. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Rejoice. Yes. All right. I love it. Rejoice. You have to smile when you say rejoice. You know what the dictionary, how it defines the word rejoice? By definition, rejoice means to be glad, to delight in, and to be filled with joy. And Isaiah 61:10 says, I delight greatly in the Lord. My soul rejoices in my God, for he has clothed me with garments of salvation. The shepherds, the wise men, and Mary and Joseph had experienced God, and they were rejoicing in him because Jesus was at the center of it all. So we also have something to be oh so excited about, because this Christmas season, you and I can rejoice because Jesus is in it all. And we're going to be responsible to make sure that he does not become a missing ingredient. That is something that we can rejoice over, because Christmas is about Jesus. It is a mess without the Christ child. So as we celebrate Christmas this year, don't miss giving Jesus the place of priority. Start today so that when, let's see, today is the 11th, is that right? December 11th? Okay, we have X number of days, 14 days, is that right, till Christmas Day? Is that about? Well, not counting today. But we have the opportunity to put Jesus in the beginning and not try to stir him in at the end. Isn't that something to rejoice over? I think that is.